Overtourism initiatives seek to curb ships that emit pollutants and carry millions of travelers. More than 24 million people go on cruises every year. Before the epidemic, the number was even higher, about 30 million. As passenger numbers approach pre-pandemic levels, many European ports that host these ships are reviewing their policies. Some ports are considering banning them altogether, citing environmental, social, and economic concerns. According to Transport and Environment, the 218 cruise ships that sailed in Europe in the year 2022 emitted 4 times more sulfur oxides than all the cars on the continent. Last June, this NGO found that levels of these toxic air pollutants from ships now exceed pre-pandemic levels. And while their economic benefits to local communities remain controversial, the millions of passengers they bring to European cities each year create hardship for local residents. In 2021, Venice banned large cruise ships from docking in its historic center. UNESCO has threatened to list the city as an endangered site due to damage to the lagoon if the ban is not made permanent. Opponents argue that large ships pollute the environment and undermine the foundations of the city, which already suffers from frequent flooding. The ban means that large cruise and cargo ships will no longer be able to pass through Venice's Giudecca Canal. Attempts to stop large ships have been made before, but previous laws have been overturned. However, pressure increased after a cruise ship collided with a pier in Venice in 2019, injuring 5 people. By the time the ban was enacted in 2021, even the cruise lines supported the decision. Following the announcement, the International Association of Cruise Lines said it had long supported the new approach and called it an important step forward. However, implementing the ban on large ships in Venice proved more difficult than originally anticipated. Without a new terminal outside the city's lagoon for cruise lines to use, many ships continue to dock there years after the ban was implemented. But the problems of pollution and overtourism are not limited to Venice. The city of Palma de Mallorca in the Balearic Islands appears to be renewing cruise ship restrictions first introduced in 2022. As a result, only 3 ships will be allowed to enter the port each day, and only one of these will be allowed to carry more than 5,000 passengers. Politicians in Spain have also proposed tougher rules on taxation and the use of polluting fuels by cruise ships. Barcelona, with its own problems, closed its north terminal to cruises on October 22nd last year. Barcelona, with its own problems, closed its north terminal to cruises on October 22nd last year. With the closure of another terminal in Maremagnum and the introduction of the one ship per terminal rule, only 7 cruise ships can dock in Barcelona at the same time. These measures follow an agreement with local authorities to relocate cruise ships outside the center of Barcelona in an attempt to mitigate the effects of excessive tourism. By the year 2026, the South Terminal will also cease operations, and all cruise operations will be conducted from the Adosat Marina. The Mediterranean is the second largest cruise market after the Caribbean, and the increase in passengers is putting an increasing strain on the local population. According to the activist group Stop Croisière, in 2022, 50,000 residents of Marseille, France's largest cruise port, signed a petition against cruise ships. Restrictive measures are being introduced in other popular ports, not just in the Mediterranean. Ships calling at Scottish ports will be subject to an additional levy under a plan recently announced by the local Green Party. They claim that this tax will help tackle the twin problems of pollution and excessive tourism. Lorna Slater, co-leader of the Scottish Greens, said she hoped the new tax would encourage companies to use less polluting ships, as one cruise ship emits as much pollution as 12,000 cars. In Amsterdam, the City Council voted to close the cruise terminal to reduce pollution and tourist traffic. the most likely solution is to move the terminal out of the city center. But the vote itself shows the city's attitude toward these large passenger ships. Last year, local politician Ilana Ruder-Kirkuk compared the arrival of cruise ships to a plague of locusts. In 2019, Amsterdam imposed a tax on cruise ship passengers, causing some companies to cancel or change itineraries. More than 100 ships dock in the Dutch capital each year, becoming a symbol of the problem of overtourism. The main argument of the defenders of cruise tourism is its contribution to the local economy. But do passengers on these huge ships really spend money in the cities they visit? A number of studies have shown that disembarking passengers contribute less to local economies than one might think. Most of the money stays on board, where all the food, drinks, and souvenirs are available. Not surprisingly, the world's largest cruise ship, Wonder of the Seas, boasts 20 impressive restaurants, a 1,400-seat theater, and shops selling everything from luxury watches to designer clothing. Depending on the package chosen, meals and drinks are often included, and purchases are tax and duty-free. An even larger ship, Icon of the Seas, was launched earlier this year. A study conducted in Bergen, Norway, a popular fjord cruise stop, found that up to 40% of passengers never left the ship. Those who did disembark spent an average of less than 23 euros. Further research conducted in this Norwegian city in 2013 revealed that the length of the docking period was likely to be a key factor in determining the level of passenger spending. The average time spent in port is around 8 hours, but can vary considerably depending on the route. For some ships, such as those in Barcelona, this can be as little as 4 hours. And even when passengers are given more time to spend, costs remain low. Cruise industry representatives claim that the average passenger's contribution to the local economy is much higher than projected in Bergen, reaching about $100 per day. One way to reduce this gap would be to increase the port fee for passengers, which currently ranges from 4 to 14 euros per person. Cruise industry representatives say they are taking steps to improve their environmental and social impact. According to KLIA, cruise lines were among the first in the maritime sector to commit to reducing carbon emissions by 40% by the year 2030. Some have even committed to achieving carbon neutrality by the year 2050. Electrifying ports, allowing ships to turn off their engines and limit harmful emissions, could also help. This is taken into account in Barcelona's plan to move cruise ships out of the city by the year 2026, with the possibility of connecting ships to the electricity grid at the Adosat Marina. It remains to be seen, however, whether these measures will be enough to appease disgruntled port city residents.